locker room. This is before the game ended. Before the game ended. She comes out in the locker room and posts this. Like, what are we doing?
I'm thinking to myself, is anybody on this team going to stand up for Caitlin Clark? JC Sheldon grabbing Caitlin Clark all game, clawing at her. It's like tonight was a brawl, folks. Tonight was a brawl. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, is anybody on this team going to stand up for? And Sophie Cunningham.
What happens when Sophie Cunningham transforms into a one-woman wrecking crew and decides protecting Caitlin Clark is her full-time WNBA assignment? Absolute chaos. The court turns into a battleground, the Sun locker room spirals into disarray, and Sophie starts dishing out smoke like it's a holiday sale. 2 for 1, no refunds. You're not prepared for this level of basketball drama. When Sophie snapped, she didn't just respond. She went full Avengers on Connecticut, no sidekick needed. Strap in. This saga's hotter than Angel Reese's trending tab.
With the play that set off the entire night. So as you guys can see here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin Clark. She swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin Clark nudges her off because JC stays in her face. And then Tina Charles runs over and is kind of wagging her finger in Caitlin Clark's face. And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabrey, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin.
The moment Sophie Cunningham clocked in, the entire WNBA should have filed for hazard pay. She didn't show up to play ball. She showed up to handle business. And by business, we mean turning into Caitlin Clark's personal security detail, swatting away cheap shots and shady hits like she was guarding a crown jewel in the middle of a bar fight. Sophie wasn't just on the court, she was on a mission.
To WNBA Fight Night, or as some people are saying, WNBA Raw. What a game that was. We had it all. We had basketball, we had fighting, we had blonde on blonde crime. Oh, such an epic. Oh, goodness. But at the end of the day, it resulted in an Indiana Fever W. 88-71, taking care of business.
Forget teammates. Sophie's out here moving like a Secret Service agent with a side hustle in demolition. Try to elbow Caitlin. Boom. Sophie materializes like a WWE tag-in, fully prepared to wreck your shoe deal and ruline your teeth in one motion. Bump Clark after the whistle? Congrats. You just triggered the wrath of a certified enforcer with a killer jump shot and zero interest in your career longevity.
Let's start here. This is, of course, Sophie and Sheldon going down the floor. Sophie tries to wrap her up, and Sheldon gets to the floor, and all hell breaks loose. And Sophie said, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. We'll go. We'll go. So there's that. That, of course, was all a byproduct of this right here, folks. And I mean, when I tell you social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way, it's the
She's not just defending, she's delivering verdicts. The court turns into her courtroom, and every ruling comes stamped with the same sentence: maximum pressure. This isn't protection, it's domination by proxy. Sophie's mastered the art of the surgical shoulder check, the stare that strips confidence from your soul, and the kind of try-me body language that makes even seasoned vets reconsider stepping near the arc.
Of course, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlin Clark. There should be a flagrant one, of course, on JC Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlin Clark, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlin, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. and JC Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were ejected.
Sophie Cunningham doesn't wait for drama. She smells it before it starts, like she's been lurking in the group chat all week. One hint of hostility and she's already en route, locked in and loaded. Full Sophie mode isn't here for post-game hugs or pre-game handshakes. She's not dapping anyone up at shoot-around. She's running on one frequency, touch Clark, and you just touched death. She's the WNBA's living alarm system. Always on, always watching. While others are doing breathing exercises and practicing unity, Sophie's silently scanning for threats, running mental background checks with nothing but a stare. One sketchy move toward Caitlin and you might want to have the trainer on standby. The league isn't ready for this brand of ride or die wrapped in thermonuclear intensity. She's not strolling into games with a mindfulness mantra. She's stomping in like a storm looking for a reason to strike. Her energy doesn't just rattle opponents. It makes sideline reporters sweat and teammates send up silent prayers of gratitude. This isn't taught. It's instinct. And the league hasn't seen this flavor of ferocity since defenders played like nightclub bouncers with something to prove. Cunningham didn't just revive that legacy. She upgraded it with cold precision, absolute loyalty, and a zero-tolerance policy for even a hint of disrespect.
I feel good, and Sophie Cunningham put me out on a high note, folks. I didn't even say, Ben, calm down. Calm down, regroup. I didn't even say that. Let's get straight to the play. Everybody, the plays everybody is talking about. First off, Marina Mabrey body checking Caitlin Clark to the ground. JC Sheldon all over her. Riding her. Pokes Caitlin Clark in the eye. Oh, man. Caitlin Clark needs to start wearing goggles, folks. Caitlin Clark's going to need to start wearing goggles. Bumps up on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark says, "Get your hands off me." And then here comes Marina Mabrey. Boom! Exploding Caitlin Clark like a safety coming downhill in the NFL. There was no flop.
The WNBA hasn't seen this kind of raw, unapologetic ride-or-die energy in years. Think Dennis Rodman. But make it girl boss, with a bone to pick against every ounce of passive aggression in the league. Sophie Cunningham doesn't just show up. She dives headfirst into the chaos and dares the storm to try harder. Let's be honest. Caitlin Clark didn't just arrive in the WNBA. She crash-landed with a target on her back, so massive it probably got its own area code. Rookie of the Month. Please. She's been Enemy of the Month on repeat, getting heat not just from defenders, but from entire rosters treating her like it was open season on range and relevance. Some brought their A-game. Others brought grudges, college beef, and baggage she had nothing to do with but still had to carry. They weren't out to test her jumper. They wanted to crack her spirit. But what none of them counted on. Sophie Cunningham, watching from the wings like a hawk that skipped breakfast and came ready to feast. Every push, shove, and cheap shot just summoned a little more of Sophie's fury. And once she's locked in, you're not just facing Caitlin, you're dealing with her personal storm chaser.
About a minute and a half into recording this reaction earlier, with 1 minute left, and all hell broke loose between JC Sheldon and Sophie Cunningham, and it is very clear the Indiana Fever, some of these girls on this team are finally fed up. Finally fed up. Once again, WNBA, we're not talking about your basketball. We're talking about the WNBA WWE Raw circus that you got going on right now, and we all know this incident with Sophie stems from the incident that was clearly not handled correctly by the WNBA and the referees.
The referees underestimated just how fast one woman could build a no-fly zone around her teammate. Sophie didn't just protect Caitlin. She turned every cheap shot into an excuse for demolition. While Clark dealt with the chaos of headlines and heat, Sophie became the storm chaser, spine of steel, memory sharper than her crossover. This wasn't about stats or highlights. This was about making sure Clark never had to brace herself every time someone cocked back with a stray elbow. While the league plotted, schemed, and whispered, Sophie strapped on metaphorical brass knuckles and made one thing clear. This rookie might be the future, but her present? It's under full lockdown. But here's what the league didn't see coming. Caitlin didn't walk in solo. She brought Sophie. And Sophie's not the kind of bodyguard who just walks you to your car and calls it a night. She's the type who levels the parking lot, flips the vehicle, and personally cuffs anyone who so much as blinked funny. Because for every shove Caitlin takes, Sophie delivers a televised spiritual reckoning, And trust, everyone tunes in for the sermon.
All right, enough is enough. At some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected. And that is certainly the case with the way things around Caitlin Clark are officiated. This is a constant problem now. It is something that since the beginning, I've kind of backed off on because physical play is a part of sports. Going after a superstar and trying to rough them up a little bit to get in their head is a part of sports. But when it crosses the line, the referees need to do their...
When Sun players tried to get slick with hard fouls and sneaky screens, Sophie didn't flinch. She went full medieval. No warnings. No hesitation. Just pure, primal basketball vengeance, tied back in a ponytail and delivered with a death stare that could shatter glass. She didn't just insert herself between Caitlin and danger. She became the wall, like she's been training her whole life for a moment to go full Terminator in broad daylight. And make no mistake, this isn't performative. Sophie's not putting on a show. She's not here for your "we play tough" defense speeches while your teammates out there auditioning for a chiropractic sponsorship. If you're stepping to Caitlin Clark with bad intentions, Sophie's already 10 steps ahead, setting a screen that borders on criminal and bringing enough fire to get fined in advance. At this point, it's not even defense, it's deterrence. Active, intense, and deeply personal. That moment when a player starts strutting toward Clark with that fake tough swagger, ready to send a message. Yeah, Sophie sees it before the cameras do. And suddenly, that player's pivoting back to the bench without even knowing why. Instincts don't lie. Survival kicks in. And Sophie Cunningham? She's the reason.